Hi, this is Caroline Spaulding, and today we're talking about helping students realize their norms. Leaving to Learn outlined 10 expectations that students have for schools. Relationships. Relevance. Time. Timing. Play. Practice. Choice. Authenticity. Challenge. And application. I believe the key to helping students realize their norms is to know your students. I do this through aptitude tests, reinforcement surveys, learning inventories, and informal interviews. I work with a highly transient population. Since we're in a hospital setting, so it is really important for me to know my students as quickly as possible because we only have them for a short period of time. So one key to norms my school uses is a program by Hobson's called Naviance. We use their career assessments and resources to know our students. Hobson's claims to help students identify their strengths, explore careers, create academic plans, match to best fit educational opportunities, and finish what they start. The first norm is relationships. I help my students build relationships by making connections. We teach social skills class every day. It focuses on building relationships with their peers, the school, facility staff, their family, whether it is biological or caseworkers, and the community. It is a big part of my job to know with whom the students have built meaningful connections. We provide students with mentors based on natural connections they've made with staff. So after they've made a connection, they're assigned to their mentor. The next norm is relevance. I help my students realize the relevance by planning connections in my lessons. I design lessons that allow for students to have some type of input. So if I'm teaching a lesson on probability, I would have students give me scenarios in their own lives which need the ability to determine probability. Special interest groups. A few years ago, I came up with special interest groups for students who voiced the need to connect with peers who have shared interests and values. It caught on, and now it is part of our social studies program. It used to be more of an after-school club, but now it is part of the school day. Individual plans. We use our Naviance program to build individual plans of study for each student, and some of our students are on IEPs, which are another form of individual plans. Extensions. Each unit has an extension built in for students to extend their learning. Sometimes students struggle with it because the extensions are done during the unit, so they're still learning the skills, but it is really valuable method for helping students relate to their learning. Time. Students in my classroom learn at their own pace. One of the strategies I use is to have a video of the teacher. I have videos of me or other instructors teaching a lesson using our district curriculum. We also offer online curriculum through Edgenuity, which is online instruction at an individual pace. I also provide my students with time for extension. They are periodically allotted some time to extend their learning and make connections. Lastly, I think it is important to consider structure when allowing students to work at their own pace. I find that knowing the capabilities of my students helps me design individual expectations for the amount of time each student has to complete their work. Timing. I consider learning sequence when I plan the timing of my lessons. It is important for me to vary my teaching strategies to meet the learning styles and interests of my students. Sometimes a skill requires mastery of a previous skill, so sequence is necessary, while other times I allow different ways to explore the new material. I encourage students to use self-monitoring as they master skills necessary to meet their goals. Play. I help my students realize this norm by providing students with manipulatives in a structured environment so they can explore materials and content prior to learning. I give students a set amount of time and materials based on their needs before instruction begins. Cooperative learning. Several of my lessons are done through cooperative learning, so students have the opportunity to work towards a shared goal with their peers. They often explore content, bringing everyone's strengths together as a team. And as students become more familiar with their groups, they find that they can be a safe place to make mistakes and grow. I also help students realize this norm by encouraging connections. Each lesson objective provides an opportunity for my students to explain to me how they've connected their learning to the real world. They can do this using a variety of methods, including a digital presentation or simply verbalizing the connection to me. Practice. All of my lessons involve a guided practice where I guide students through acquiring new knowledge. I am actively involved in providing feedback and being supportive of questions throughout the learning process. I also provide independent practice where students can practice the new content on their own. At this point, there is less feedback, but I'm still available for questions. I have my students go deeper into learning by making connections to learning. I also think it's really important to spiral the content that you're learning. I think that helps students practice the newly acquired knowledge. So a lot of our curriculum spirals where it comes back around and they are allowed an opportunity to practice the skill again. Choice. When looking at choice, I make 3 important considerations: groups, content, and method. I consider how students learn based on their needs and strengths through determining if they should learn in groups, partners, or independently. Content. One of our teachers recently suggested that we teach content using a menu system. So this year I've offered content on a menu where students have options of what to learn. Allowing students to have control has really increased engagement in student learning. Method. In my school, we use differentiated instruction to meet the needs of all learners. Our students rotate to other teachers so they can receive departmentalized instruction. This also helps students receive instruction in a variety of methods. Some teachers primarily are facilitators, others rely on lecturing and videos to relay content. I find that a mix of all methods helps to reach all students. Authenticity. Some strategies I use include project-based learning and real-world problems. While our program does not center on project-based learning or real-world problems, we do focus on preparing students to engage in the social skills needed for collaboration and academic skills needed for research. We have an apprenticeship within the classroom that is something we implemented to meet the needs of our students in a short amount of time with which we work with them. We have classroom helpers and we have roles for students in the facility, which include having students lead social groups. Challenge. I embed the content standards into meaningful lessons so my students understand the reason behind learning the standards. Skills for success. Our school focuses on teaching students how to interact in the 21st century society with using skills to manage stress and get along with others. Application. I teach my students problem-solving skills to apply the skills they have learned to solve real-world problems. I also have a time built in to each day for student reflection on learning. That is before, during, and after learning takes place. I also have my students engage in role-playing activities to practice newly learned social skills. so they can practice with a partner on how to carry out each step of the social skill. Here are my references. And this is the end. Thank you for listening.